So today our topic is ad hoc testing. See, exploratory testing or ad hoc testing and monkey testing. So these three similar kind of testing. So first we will know what kind of testing there are, and we will compare these three testings. So during ad hoc testing, here also we don't have any documents and we don't have any test cases, test scenarios, nothing. So we just have an application. So you don't know any functionality on this. Testing the application randomly without any test cases or business requirement document. Means what? Suppose I gave you an application to you and you have some previous experience on some projects, and immediately you can do some kind of ad hoc testing, right? And it means randomly test the functionalities without knowing anything. So based upon your experience, previous experience, you can assume the functionality. For example, if you take a login screen, a login should be there. You know how to work. And logout should be there. You know how it works, right? And inbox, you know how it should work. So to test these things, you don't need any documents. So randomly, you can test the features, which is called as ad hoc testing. So the first point is in ad hoc testing. So testing application randomly without any test cases or any business requirement document. So it is an informal testing type with an aim to break the system. So informal testing means what? So already we in previous classes we discussed what is informal and what is formal. So informal means we don't have any proper plan, when we don't have any such a cycle where you have to conduct the testing. Okay, here we can conduct adult texting at any time. So we have to test the application randomly. So it is a informal. The main intention of this testing is to break the application. So because this is a fundamental testing, the tester will also try to break the application and to find the defects in the kernel level of the application. So we have to think in negative way, not in positive way. For example, if you take a password example, so password, one uppercase, one lowercase, remaining the letters are lowercase, numbers, special characters. So test many ways. So test all possibilities and try to find the defect. Here you should know some knowledge of application based upon the previous application. And you should know already something. If you know, you can do this ad hoc testing. And what is third point and fourth point? So tester should have knowledge of application even though he does not have requirement or test cases. So this testing is usually an unplanned activity. So this is the explanation of ad hoc testing. I hope you understand, guys. And monkey or gorilla testing. So here we also test the application randomly without knowing any functionality. Here also we don't have any documents, test cases, nothing. But without knowledge of application, we don't know anything about application. So testers don't have knowledge of application. But in we do monkey testing or gorilla testing. See, but in ad hoc testing, we have to know the application based on the previous experience. You assumed it and text it. So even though you don't have a document, but here you don't have a document and also you don't know the application. So previously in monkey testing, in ad hoc testing, in exploratory testing, so you know the application, just you don't have any documents. Okay. But here you don't have a documents also, and you don't know the application also. So, but still you conduct some testing. So this is called monkey testing. For example, you can take gaming application. Here gaming application. So gaming application, suppose in your mobile or tab, you found some games, right? And normally we play games. So they don't know the exactly how to play the game. As soon as they open, they do some clicking, some do actions and do a lot of things. But they don't know how to play the game. In these cases, application should not break. So that is called monkey testing. Here we will jump and do some testing without knowing functionality of the application. You don't know how it works, but still you just randomly click on something and see what is happening. So that is a kind of testing we do is called as monkey testing or gorilla testing. So why we called it monkey or gorilla? So because it is not stable. We do action or something, When enter the application, like click on link button without entering the data, just click on login. So just doing some actions and seeing what is happening. So especially in gaming application, people, I mean, they do some kind of this testing. Clear, guys?
Clear.
Mhm. And when you compare this ad hoc testing versus monkey testing versus exploratory testing, so here, see, in three of these, no documentation, and three of these, no plan. And here, informal testing. And here, ad hoc testing, if you take testers should know application functionality, and monkey testing doesn't know any idea of application functionalities. And here also exploratory testing. But in and these testings are random testings, and here main intention is to break the application and find out the defects at the corner level of the application. And here ad hoc testing any application, and you get if you doing a monkey testing only gaming applications, you can perform this testing. And exploratory testing any applications which is new to tester. Okay. And positive and negative testing, already you know that the testing the application with valid inputs or valid data is called positive testing. So testing the application with invalid data is called negative testing. Okay. So for example, so my requirement is positive. Okay. The test box allows only numbers. So my requirement, if my requirement is negative, the text box should not allow alpha or any special characters. So see, so testing the application with valid inputs is called positive testing, and it checks whether an application behave as expected with the positive inputs. So if your text box only accepts positive testing, I mean only numbers, then you just entered numbers. That's it. Okay. And it should accept and it should allow. If you doing any negative testing, so you entered alphabets, special characters. So uh, this type of test cases, if we do, that is called negative testing. See, negative testing can be performed by entering characters capital A to Z or from A to Z. So either software system should not accept the values, or else it should throw an error message for this invalid data inputs. So if this text box only accepts alphabets, you should enter numbers or special characters. Okay. So that is native testing. So this is a simple idea. So this is how we do positive test, how we write positive test cases and negative test cases. And this is just an example. So please verify that. So end-to-end testing. So end-to-end testing means sometimes your lead will ask to perform end-to-end testing. So need to understand what is end-to-end. It means testing the overall functionalities of the application. That functionality covers each and every flow in your application. So let's say I have some application. So in your Gmail application, login, compose, send box, trash box, there are different components. So I want to test end-to-end functionality. First, you will do login functionality. After successfully login, you compose the email. Then I text the login, I compose the mail and it comes sent box. And again deleted the mail, it goes trash box, right? And these things are working properly or not, that we have to check. So that is end-to-end testing. So it should cover all components. And another example is banking application. So I want to do end-to-end testing. First, you should log in. Okay. So you should log in and add customer. And this is the emails what you have seen. And this is banking application. First, you should log in the application and then add customer. So these components are going to test individually. It should cover every flow in your application. So that is end-to-end testing. So see, login, add customer. After login, add customer, and you can delete the customer and you can edit the customer. And after that, you can log out. So these five scenarios should cover in one test. That is called end-to-end testing. Our major functionality should cover. So what is the definition? So testing the overall functionalities of the system, including the data integration among all the modules, is called end-to-end testing. And these five scenarios, so integrated with each other. Okay. That's why we call end-to-end. So in this example, there is a dependent functionalities are there in banking application, and that functionalities we have to test. So this is called end-to-end testing. Yeah. Next, globalization and localization testing. Let us understand what is that. See, sometimes some application will support globally. Globally means what? So all different languages. Okay, globally means all different languages. So some application will support specific languages. So for example, if you take a PayPal application, online payment system, so which is always there in every country throughout the world. So it supports globally. It's related to globalization concept. Okay, so and support localization also. So localization means whether the application is supporting globally or not, all the languages or not. That is called globalization testing. So, so localization means what? Our application support local languages or not. For example, if you take a Chinese application, so there is a website in that there is in a Chinese language. Okay, but nobody can understand those website from the world. So only those countries specific people understand, and those specific people use this application. Even other countries can't access those application. In those application, we can't conduct localization testing, whether the application is supporting their own languages or not. So for example, if you take a date format, so date format means the date format is different in one country to another country. And if the application supports all kind of formats, that is globalization. So overall means what is that? Overall means globalization testing in the sense testing our application which is supporting globally or not. Localization testing means we verify our application supporting the local community, or you can say language. Okay. Local community or not. So what is the first point in globalization? Perform to ensure the system or software application can run in any cultural or local environment. And different accepts of different aspects of the software application are texted to ensure that it supports every language and different attributes. So globalization means it supports every language. So it supports all kind of language in different countries. They use different languages. That is globalization support. And it tests currency format. So mobile number, if you see this point, currency format means mobile number format, address format. It tests all kinds of format. It is called globalization testing. And what is the last point? For example, Facebook.com. So supports many of the languages and it can be accessed by the people of different countries. Hence, it is a globalized product. So global for Facebook.com, it supports many languages, right? If you sit in China, if you sit in anywhere, or I mean London, US, so UK, so whatever you sit, you can use Facebook, right? And localization. So it perform to check system or software application for a specific language on specific geographical only. So localized product only support the specific kind of language and is usable only in specific region. If you take a China, so China language only understand the China people only. So it supports only China language and it is usable in China country only. So it tests to the specific currency format, mobile number format, and address format is working properly or not. So, for example, Baidu.com. So, supports only the Chinese language and it can be accessed only by people of few countries. Hence, it is a localized product. Next, test case design. And what is the use of software test design techniques? and where exactly we use this test technique. So normally when perform the testing, we need some kind of test data, right? Test data means the data which is used for testing. So if I want to test the login functionality, for that we have to prepare some test data like valid inputs and invalid inputs. We don't test only with valid credentials, valid username, valid password, which can be logged in successfully. Apart from this, to check different types of data like valid username, and username contains spaces, space, special characters, numbers, or combination of numbers and alphabets. So different types of data we have to prepare. Then we will conduct the testing. So what tested data, I mean, what test design technique will be used to prepare the test data? That is first uses. And what is the second uses? To test the functionality, we have to prepare so much of data. So instead of preparing so much of data, we can minimize the data and we can improve the coverage. So there are two things are important here. One is data and one is coverage. Okay. And this is just a small definition. Test case. What is test case? Okay. And this is just for your knowledge purpose. So test case design techniques. Here there are two things are important. One is data and another is coverage. So data means which is used for testing. Coverage means whatever the data is prepared, with that data we should able to cover all scenarios of testing. Okay. So for example, before I said login functionality. So valid username and valid password. You just prepare the test cases, right? And invalid username and invalid password. And valid username, invalid password. Invalid username and valid password. These are the scenarios to prepare for to prepare for login functionality. So different combination of data we have to prepare. And why you preparing all this? So because all these scenarios cover all all test scenarios. So that is called coverage. So main usage of test design technique is to prepare the test data which will cover each and every area of the feature. That is our main intention. By using test design technique, we can also reduce the data with minimal data. We can cover everything. So for example, I have a small text box. In this, I have entered age of the person. So my requirement is should be in the text box allows 18 to something 30 years. Okay, 18 to 30 years. So in this particular requirement, how much data you have prepared? So there is a text box. Okay, it should allow 18 to 30 years only age. Okay. So in this particular requirement, how much data you have prepared and how much inputs we need. So we have to test first 18, then 19, then 20, right? So means 18 to 30, all the numbers we have to test, and these are all valid inputs, and below 18. So I mean what below 18 means 1 to 17. So 1 to 17, there are invalid data and it should not allow. So after 18 and after 30, we have to test all the numbers. So if I look at this requirement, we have a huge data that we have to test. So instead of this testing, all these kinds of data, we can just minimize the data. No need to go for all the numbers. By using test design technique, we can reduce the data, but at the same time, we have to make sure everything is covered or not. So test case design technique. So it will reduce the data. I mean, by using this technique, we can reduce the data and also we will increase the coverage. So there are two advantages of this tested case design techniques. First, we can reduce the data and more coverage. Okay. So we have five types of techniques. So equivalence class partitioning, boundary value analysis, decision table, state transition, error guessing. So let us understand one by one. So up to now you got it right. You understand right?
Yes.
Yeah. So ECP means equivalence class partitioning. Where is ECP? See, ACP means partitioning data into various classes. And we can select the data according to class, then test it. So it reduces the number of test cases and save time for testing. So, for example, if you take a text box, there is it allows digits 1 to 500, right? If you enter a number, it allows digits from 1 to 500. So, if I don't use any test data technique, how we will test it? We use all combinations and test it, right? So, 1 to 500, you need to check. And below 1, you need to check. After 500 also, you need to check. So, alpha, you can enter. First, you entered alpha and you can check, right? So normal test data. This is normal test data, whatever I have said. So instead of testing all the numbers, we can just use ECP technique, equivalence class partitioning technique, and we can reduce the data. And at the same time, we can cover everything. And how ECP works? So in ECP, what you will do is first step, we will divide the entire data into multiple classes or partitioning. And how partitioning your data? So I can say 1 to 500. So I mean, before one also we have to test some numbers that is invalid data. So that you should not allow. And after 500, that also should be tested and should not allow us, right? So here divide values into equivalence classes. So let us see. So minus 100 to 0. Okay. It means these numbers under below 0. Okay. Minus 100 to 0. Take any one number. You just take here, we'll take minus 50. So when I add this minus 50 value here, so which is, I mean, here means invalid. If you, okay, if you insert this minus 50, I mean, if you enter minus 50, then what happened? Which is invalid, right? It should not allow. So what does it mean? Whatever you have given in this range, that should not allow. But no need to verify all the numbers. Just take one value between this range and check it, whether it is working or not. With single value like minus 50, we can test that. So similarly, if you take 1 to 100, so just take one number that is 30. That is valid. Divide the entire into multiple classes like 1 to 500, 2 to 300, 1 to 400, 401 to 500. So this is equivalence classes. So once you divide in each and every class, we will take one value only. Like 1 to 100, we can take 30, any number. You can take 20, you can take 2 also, 3 also, 4, 5, 7, 10, 29, anything, 50 also. So 101 to 200. And if you enter 30, it should allow, right? Means what we will allow? All 1 to 100, you can just take one value and test it. No need to take all the numbers from 1 to 100. So similarly, 101 to 200, 201 to 300, 301 to 400. So after 500, see here, after 500, so we will take one more class because this fall under invalid data. Okay. So in each and every class, we will pick one number. Any number you can take between in that range. So here I will take in 101 to 200, 160. 201 to 300, I'll take 50. And 401 to, I mean, 301 to 400, 320, 450. So finally, 501 to 600, I take 550. This is invalidated. So just allow 1 to 500 rights. After 500, what? That is invalid data. So we need to test invalid areas also. If we see test data using ECP, So final data means what? Here 550. So which we are going to use for testing by using ECP technique. Okay. And this is the final data. So another example is mm, so this is a text box and it allows only alphabets. Okay. Alpha means what? Capital A to capital Z and small a to small z. How we will partitioning the data? And this is tested data using ECPs. So first, capital A to capital Z, that is valid, and small a to small z, that is also valid. And here, capital A to capital Z will choose the final data XYZ. And you can choose anything. B, C, D also you can choose. W, I mean U, Y, anything you can choose. And small a to small z, we choose Z, Y, Z. Okay. That is also valid data. And special characters. Special character that is invalid because it allows only alphabets, right? So that I choose this one. And space, 50. I mean, this is also invalid. So XY space, here space. Okay. This is also we choose, I mean, this is the final data and numbers. Numbers we choose 320. So 320, I mean, that is also invalid. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the invalid data. So we will create some test cases like this. So for uppercase, XYZ, for lowercase, ZYZ, special characters. So we first classify the data and then we will prepare some data which belongs to each and every classification. So this is called ECP. So our main intention of ECP is the value check. What the value providing is correct or not. So that is our main intention. Okay. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
So boundary value analysis. Next concept is boundary value analysis. It means boundary of the values. So in ECP, it mainly focus on value check. In BVA, boundary value analysis, we will focus on boundary of the values. So for example, we called it as BVA technique. It is used to check boundaries of the input. So if there is a text box, here we enter a case. So it allows 18 to 35. So normally how we will test it? So 18 to 35 means what? When it pass between 18 to 35, it should allow. That is valid data. And I also test invalid data, right? So for that, we have to enter all the values below 18 and also enter all the values above 35. Okay. So they should not allow whatever you entered below 18 and whatever entered above 35, it should not allow to cover positive values as well as negative inputs. So this is normally, I mean, normally this is normal way to test it. But in BVA, we can reduce the data. At the same time, we improve the coverage. But how we can use this technique? So in BBA, we will test only boundaries, not values. So for example, so here minimum 18 and max 19. Sorry, 35. So here, so in BBA, what I'm saying, when it, so minimum 18, right? Minimum 18 and maximum value weight is that 35. So these values. So when I pass minimum value and maximum value, so 18 is the minimum value, 35 is the maximum value, right? So they both should allow and I will test only six parameters or six values. When I pass minimum value 18, it should allow, right? When I pass minimum value plus 1, so that is 19, it should allow. And when I pass minimum value max, 35, it should allow, right? And minimum value, low system resources make it audio quality. Am I audible? Is it clear? My voice is clear, right?
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah. So first what I'm saying, minimum value 18. It should allow and minimum value 19. Minimum plus you can add plus 1. That is boundary. So 19 it should allow. So now what is that? So you should minus 1. That is 17. So 17, it is invalid data. It should not allow. Here only three parameters I'm checking here with the minimum boundary. So similarly, maximum value is 35. That is valid. And maximum minus 1, that is 34. Only one value we can verify and this is valid. So maximum plus 1, that is 36, invalid. So 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 you just checking the boundaries of the values only. I mean, we are not checking the values. We are checking the boundaries. That's it. So what it is, you just check 18 and then 19. And then what is that below 18? You just take a number 17. And here 35. So you just take a 36 and 34. So this is the this is the way you do the BVA boundary value analysis technique. So only six parameters which will need to cover. We don't need to pass all values. So this is very simple, guys. And, and here all equations I have already mentioned here. So here input domain testing. This is also one important point. The value will be verified in the text box or input fields. We use ECP and BVA techniques. Okay, this is the meaning of that. So if you use ECB and BVA techniques, so that will be called as input domain testing. Which one? So decision table is not a testing
Uh,
type. Okay, we
can you
use
come
a
again?
technique.
Your la Hello. Sorry to
So
interrupt. Uh,
yeah.
so what is it? You mentioned in the last comment, input domain testing. So it's a combination of both, or how is it?
It's a combination. If you use C, ECP and BVA techniques, so there are inputs, right? We are not like so I will tell everything. So we are giving the inputs. So they are see here there is a text box ECP, right? And I took another example. Here also text box. So here also text box. So what we are doing here, we are giving inputs, right? So whatever we are giving inputs, so the values will be verified in the
So one
text
question
box.
over here. So when we are doing boundary value analysis, we are also covering the equivalence class partition.
We can also do. So see, this is up to you, and it's
Hello.
completely it's your convenience,
Hello.
right? You
Am I
can
audible?
choose.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, my internet was breaking in between. What I was saying, when we testing boundary value analysis, at the same time we are also using some inputs of equivalence class partition. Like in boundary value analysis, we are checking the boundaries as well as the first right and the first left of each boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
bound.
So
Yeah.
yeah, in this case, we are also testing equivalence class partition also. Like in equivalence class partition, we are taking one input from the right side, the extreme right, which is invalid, one from the middle of the
Mm,
positive valid case, and one from the left
mm,
side, so which is the another invalid case. So any which
okay.
ways we are already covering in this boundary value analysis only. So
Yeah.
how come this import domain is it's a combination?
So we can just call it as input domain testing. So if you using VBA technique or if you're using ECP technique, we called it as what is the type of testing. I'm just telling you this is a technique. I'm not testing. I'm not talking about testing. So you just okay, I'm using ECP technique. I'm using BBA technique. So what type of testing you are doing? So that we called as input domain testing.
Okay. Testing type you
Yeah.
meant to say.
Yeah. So I'm just up to now I explained only techniques. Okay, we can use PVA testing and we can use ECP techniques
Okay.
and we can do
Okay.
this way. But someone say I came and I asked you, okay, this technique using, but what type of testing you are doing? So the you should know the what type of testing you're doing, right? So you just input domain testing I'm doing, and in that we are using ECP technique and we are using BBA technique. So this way I have done like this. So this is the meaning of that input domain testing. Okay.
Okay.
So decision table. So decision table is not a this is C. This is a test. This is not a testing type. So we use a technique for preparing the test data. So by using this technique, we can reduce the data at the same time we increase the coverage. So when we use this decision table, so it is also known as cause effect table. So and this technique will be used if we have more number of conditions and corresponding actions. And sometimes we have certain scenarios where we need to verify a lot of conditions. So for example, if you so and so condition, then do this action. If so and so condition, then do another action. So based on the condition, we do different actions. In those cases, we have to prepare different sets of data. So based upon conditions and actions, so we have to cover all conditions at the same time. We have to cover all actions. For that, we have to prepare the data. So in that case, we prefer decision table technique. And how we will prepare the data in decision table? So decision table means here if you take um, see, so how we will prepare the data means, for example, I have a requirement that is transferring money online to an account and which is already added and approved. So here certain conditions and actions should be performed. So what are the conditions we are following here? So account already approved. So this is one condition. OTP match, this is second condition. So sufficient money in the account. This is third condition. This condition should be satisfied. So now actions to be performed based upon these conditions, we have to do certain actions. Okay, if this is satisfied, then this action should perform. So for example, we have to transfer money. Okay, that is action, right? Suppose if you don't have your money in your account, then immediately it shows message. I mean, it will show a message insufficient amount, right? If OTP is not matched, then what happen? Then it will show the message, block the transaction in case of suspicious transaction. So these are the actions to be performed based upon the condition. For this, we have to write some test cases. So whenever you see this type of requirement, just just think about condition and action. Then go for decision table technique. So here seeing one test case is account already approved. Okay. If you entered, if you log in your application and your account already approved, then what happened? So this condition is satisfied. Then you can transfer the money. So this condition is okay. OTP match. And after that, what happened? If OTP match, you can do anything in your account, right? And this is also satisfied. So this is first test case. You can see that this is test case. This is all three conditions satisfied. Sufficient money in your account. So if these conditions are satisfied, you can do action, right? You can transfer the money. And if you are in your account, it's, I mean, money is very less, then what happen? It will show the message insufficient amount. Or if OTP is not matched, then what happen? It will block the transaction, right? So, and if you, this way you can write the test cases. So this is test case, second test case. If your account is already approved, you can transfer the money. If OTP match, okay, you can go forward and you didn't get any messages. And if you don't have any sufficient money, then it will show the message, right? Insufficient amount. I mean, this condition is not satisfied. So in that way, you prepare the test case. And next, what is the third test case? Account already approved. Okay, this condition is satisfied. And next, OTP is not matched. When OTP is not matched, then what is the error message you can get? Block the transaction in case of suspicious transaction. This message you can get this. And what happened? Sufficient money in your account. Okay, already account is, I mean, you in your account at the full of money, but OTP is not matched, and your account already approved. So this is the third test case, and here this condition is not satisfied. Then execute it. And test case 4. So first one is satisfied and OTP is not matched. When OTP is not matched, then you can get this one and sufficient money in the account. Then you get this message, right? So you prepared this type of test cases and you execute the test cases. And test case 5. So you here are three test cases are, so first, if your account is not approved, then you can't do any actions, right? OTP doesn't match. And I mean, we can't, you cannot get OTP and you cannot check the money in your account. So first you need to account approve. So after that you can do these actions, right? So that is why test case 5. Only this is one false and this is, it means like invalid, like we can say nothing. Okay. First, you need to do a login in your account. So after that, you can do any action. So this is also test case 5. This is the way we can do the decision table technique. And so if we have more number of conditions or actions, then we use decision table technique. So when you have, I mean, in interview, if they ask when you have used decision table technique and just give me one example, then you should able to explain with one example. So draw one picture and take one picture like this and explain it in a proper way. And state next one is state transition. Okay, state transition. So it is also one of the technique which we use for test data design technique. So let's see what exact it is. It is a technique. Basically, in this input will be changed based upon the status. So we will do different navigations, different actions, and accordingly input, and also we will change. So, for example, um, let's see the definition of this. So, in this technique, actually, so the testing team provides positive as well as negative input. I mean, negative input test values for evaluating the system behavior. So let us understand first what is state transition. So for example, I mean, this technique allows the tester to test the behavior of the application. And tester can perform this action by entering various input conditions in the sequence. It means changing the state from one to another, changing the condition from one state to another state. For example, this is called some login state. Okay, I mean some login part. Suppose if you go for ATM or using internet banking application, how many times password will allow? So internet, if you're using in your mobile internet banking application or if you go ATM, how many times password will allow? Suppose I entered password wrong, how many times it will allow? So max to max, 3 times, right? Even if I entered third time, I mean, if I entered third time wrong password, so after that it will lock or block the account. So let us take the scenario and how the state transition works. Okay. So just take an example of login page application or some ATM, which locks the ATM after entered the third attempt of password. This is my scenario and this is my requirement. So let us check different states. So when I entered the password a very first time, so it should allow if it is correct, right? So and then we can see and then it opens the home page. So this is called one state transition. Now suppose first attempt got failed. So what happened? It will give the second chance. Second attempt, you can enter the password. If in second attempt we provide valid password, then open home page. Suppose if second time also provided invalid password, then it will give the third chance. I mean third attempt. And what happened? Third attempt it will fail. Then your account is locked. Or if you provide valid password, then it will open home page, right? So in first attempt, this is the state one. In second attempt, this is the state two. In third attempt, it is state three. So each and every attempt is considered as a status. So in every state, we provide some input, valid and invalid inputs. So based on this, I mean diagram, we will prepare a small table. So they will give you more clarity on this. See. So first we will have all the states. So there are multiple states we have, even home page also. Okay, home page we considered as S4, S1, S2, S3, home page considered as 4, and what is this is error message, right? This is S5. So there are multiple states we have, home page S4 and account locked S5. Every node considered as a different states. Now we will list out all the states in one column and we will also name them. Here, S1, what is that? First attempt, S2, second attempt, S3, third, S4, home page, S5, account log. So, 5 different states that we have specified. Then here we prepare some data. Suppose in the state 1, okay, in the first attempt, when I pass the correct password, then in which state we have to go? So, S4, right? S4, we will go. And if you second attempt, if you give a provide a valid data, then it will go S4 home page. Otherwise, S3. And S3, if it is pass, then what? S4. And if it is fail, then S5 because third attempt is your last chance. So this is called state transition and how it will change. So based upon the input what we provide, when I pass valid input and invalid input, how the state is transferring. So from one state to another step. So that we are going to focus. So decision table means if we have more number of conditions and corresponding actions. So state transition means we will be used if we have multiple states of transactions. Okay. This is the way of you can do, I mean, you can apply test case design techniques. And this is one error guessing. And this is a very simple and small technique. We don't have any conditions, actions, nothing. It is just guessing the error. So when you will able to guess the error. So normally, if I give an application, something is not working, and how we will know that whether it is working properly or not. So based upon your guessing, your experience, your analytical skills, right? So this is purely depends upon the tester. I mean, individual analytical skills. So based upon their experience, they can guess the error. For example, you have online application where you want to select the product and add them to cart. Then you do payment. This is the flow, right? Suppose you don't have test case, document, nothing, and I am searching the product, and after this, adding to the cart, and then payment actions are properly not working, and then got failed, and then immediately you guess it there is an error in the payment process. Okay. So suppose product is selected and when you try to add to cart, which is not properly adding to the cart. So immediately you will know that this is an error. And do you refer any documents to guess this? No, right? So this is just our assumption and this is our analytical skills. So based upon your experience, you can tell this is an error or not. So it is purely depends on experience. So this is called error guessing. It is one of the testing technique which is used to find the bugs in the software application based on the tester experience. Here we don't follow any specific rules, just blindly we test the application and check the errors. Okay. So error guessing is one of the testing technique used to find the bugs in a software application based on the tester's prior experience. So what do you will expect? I don't have entering the value in the form, for example. So just click on the submit. So there is an application form, okay? You are entering in your laptop and you are entering the value, but you are not actually you need to enter the value and you need to fill the fields, but you don't have entering the value in the form. Just go directly on and click on submit. What happened? There should be error message, right? It will display and that is a error we are guessing. So similarly, entering invalid values in the text box, such as alpha in the numeric field. And what kind of error we get? So we have text box allows numbers and you are guessing some error from the application that is called error guessing. So in every area, we have to check and guess the error. Okay. So next one. In the next session, we will discuss about SDLC. So previously we discussed SDLC and next on Monday, SDLC we will see what is that and software testing life cycle. And this is the very, I will go through in detailed because see testers involved in SDLC, right? So we have to know in depth. So that's why. And explain this one. Just that. Okay. Okay. In next session, I will this explain in depth and what is phases are there and what are the inputs and what we are doing the activities, responsibilities, outcome. Okay. We'll see in the next session. And this is all about STLC part. And next we will see what is the next concepts. Okay, test plan contents, and this is the basic what is a testing case, just a scenario, use case, and defect life cycle or bug life cycle, and test cycle closure, test matrices. Okay, just it will take just three classes. Three after three classes, we will start 3 or 4 classes. We will start TOSCA automation testing, and when we start, I mean, see, in TOSCA automation testing on day one, so we will start first installation. So I will tell you how we do, and I will tell you the basic uh, TOSCA automation tool. What are their like options, features? I mean, let's see in TOSCA automation testing session. Okay, I'm going to stop this one. So did you get all documents right? I hope.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get it right? I mean, what I'm saying, and everything is clear?
Clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's getting.
Yeah. So shall we meet on Monday?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
Bye.
care. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.